Hey there, it's Leslie at Leslie's Cookies and Treats, and today I'm making present royal icing transfers. You're going to need to print out a royal icing transfer sheet. I've got these available on my website if you want to decorate along. And you're going to want to put it inside of a sheet protector or under a piece of parchment or even in a Ziploc bag. And then taking royal icing in about a 20-second consistency, you're going to want to outline and flood in all of the boxes for the presents. And then use your scribe to settle the icing down and to shape it. And for this one, I'm just going to outline and flood in the bottom part of the present, and we'll do the top of the box at a different time. And then I'm going to jazz up the box for this present a little bit, and I'm going to use my white icing and put white dots right into that red icing. This is a wet on wet effect, and it will dry as one solid surface. And I messed up this one little dot, so I'm just going to fix it with a little bit more red icing. And let's see that again. So just outline and flood in the box with the red icing, and then immediately grab your white icing and make little dots right into that red icing, and it will dry as one solid surface. And now moving down to the next row, I'm just going to go ahead and flood this in, and then again I'm going to use a wet on wet technique and make little dots in a circular pattern that I will then drag into the middle to look like little flowers. And just put as many little flowers on this present as you want, and then with a clean scribe, drag each one of those dots towards the center to make little petals. You'll want to clean your scribe in between each petal. And then if you want, you can put another dot of icing in the middle. And then for this one, I'm just going to do some stripes, again with the wet on wet effect. And immediately taking my blue icing and making stripes right into that wet green icing. And now I'm going to move down to these big square presents. Just outline and flood in the whole thing, and we'll go back after it dries and add the bow. And for this one, I'm going to also use a wet on wet effect and put little green dots right into the green present. If your dots aren't settling down, you can use a scribe to gently tap at them. Just go ahead and continue to outline and flood in your presents with whatever colors and designs you decide that you'd like to use. And then I'm going to give those a chance to dry for a little bit and move on down to these tags, and I'm going to outline them all first and then flood them in. My white icing is not quite a 20-second consistency, and it's not really going to hold its shape very well, so I'm going to go ahead and outline it first and then flood it in. That way the outline will have a chance to set up a little bit and will help contain the white icing. And on this edge where it's not quite straight, I'm just going to go ahead and take a dampened paintbrush and kind of push the icing around. And the presents that we started with have had a chance to dry, so I'm going to go up here to the top and just make a couple of triangles for the bow and then also some tails. And this one I'm going to put a lid on this box that's over the top. I'm just going to overpipe on this one and then use my scribe to shape it and settle it down. And for the lid on this present, I think I'll go ahead and do a wet on wet effect again and make some little dots right into that wet icing. And you can continue to put all of the lids on all of your packages and let that have some time to crust over, using your scribe to shape it as needed. And then moving down to the presents down here, I'm just going to put a bow right on top of this one, just make some triangles for those bows and then use your scribe to shape it. I have thickened up my white icing, so it's now more of a 20-second consistency, which is what you need to do for royal icing transfers. It makes them a little more sturdy and it helps them keep their shape without overflowing the borders. And for this present, let's go ahead and give it some ribbon going up the front of the package. So I'm just going to outline a rectangle of red ribbon here and flood that in, using my scribe to settle the icing down and shape it as needed. Now I'll go ahead and add the two ribbon loops right up here at the top. Just make two triangles and flood those in and use your scribe to shape it. And moving down to our square presents, I'm just going to put some ribbon going across the front here and then going up and down as well, and use my scribe to shape that and settle it down. And then we'll let that dry while we jump back up to the top, and I'm just going to add another ribbon going down the front of this box here and pipe in the two triangles for the bow loops, using my scribe to settle it all down and to shape it all. And we'll just jump around. Moving down to this one, I decided to overpipe the bow loop so it has more dimension, so I just added another layer right over the top. And then moving back up to this one, I decided to give it 4 bow loops, so I just am going to make 2 more little teardrop shapes, and I'm going to do the same thing for this one here. And we're just going to jump around as things have dried, and on this one I actually got a crater in my royal icing. You don't usually do that or see that on royal icing transfers, but my icing consistency is just not the right consistency for this today, and because of that I did get a crater. There was an air bubble there that I didn't managed to pop with my scribe, and that's created a crater. But we're going to fill that up with the center of this bow. So I'm just going to put 2 bow loops and 2 tails on this package, and then once it dries, we'll come in and put in that center dot for the knot, and then my crater will be hidden. I'm going to use my scribe really well on this one so I don't get any more craters, and making sure that that icing is settled down all the way down to the transfer. And then moving next door to this little green present, we're just going to make a simple tie in the middle. And I actually moved this in front of a table fan to dry for a little while, and so this is crusted over, so I'm just going to go ahead and put the center loop on this present and use my scribe to settle it down. And for this one, I'm going to add a flower for the centerpiece. So I'm just going to do a simple cross with my white icing for the ribbon. And then I'm going to take my green icing and add a little bit of greenery and some leaves here. So you just want to squeeze out a ball of icing, stop squeezing and drag your piping bag. Take a ball of icing, stop squeezing and drag. You make the little leaves for this present. And we'll let that dry while we come up here and add in the tails and the center to our bow. And again, we're just going to be jumping all around, adding centers and bow loops and whatever we need to finish these presents off. You just want to make sure that the parts that you've already piped have had a chance to crust over before you add the next section. And moving back down here, I messed up my line, and I just want to show you that you can kind of push it over using a dampened paintbrush. And I'm just going to make 2 big bow loops on this one. And moving back down, I'm going to just do a single line across this one and a couple of bow loops. And I'm going to use my scribe to kind of push that icing down over the edges so that it looks like the ribbon is wrapping around the package. And because my icing is stiffer, I can use my scribe to actually drag through and make that little center of the bow loop there. So that white icing I have now is more of a 25-second consistency, and when I drag my scribe through it, that little line that I'm creating will just stay right there, making it look more like a bow loop. And then let's just add some tails, and that present will be done. And for this one, let's just do a diagonal ribbon. I'm going to use my scribe and also a dampened paintbrush to settle down the ends as it curves around the present. Then I have a royal icing rose transfer that I made some time ago, and I'm just going to put a little icing on the back and stick that down to finish off this yellow present. And then let's add some bow loops to this one here, again using the scribe to settle down, and then we'll add the centers over here. And I'm sorry that we're just jumping around so much, but everything needs to have a little chance to dry, and then we can come back in and add the next part. And then moving back up to this one, let's just add 4 little bow loops. Let's just make 4 little teardrops and shape them, pulling them towards the center. And then once that dries, we'll go ahead and add in the center dot. While I give everything some time to dry, I'm going to move down to these tags, which are completely dry, and I'm going to use an edible marker to make some stitch marks around this one. And then let's add a little bit of greenery to this one. Just put down a dot of icing, stop squeezing, and use your bag to draw the icing up. And we'll just do a couple of leaves there. And then let's add a center to this bow, and then come back down and give some holly dots to the leaves that we put before. Now I decided I wanted to make actual leaves with some stiff icing, so I have my piping bag, and I'm just going to cut a little V in the top here, and then I'll use that to go ahead and make some nice pretty leaves. So with the piping bag situated so the V has the pointy top part up at the top and down at the bottom, just go ahead and squeeze and kind of wiggle your bag back and forth as you pull away. You want to be holding your piping bag more like the V looks like a mouth than a V. And then just add a little dot of holly, and this little tag will be done and ready for you to write on there who it's to and from. And once these have completely dried, you can peel them off of your parchment paper or your sheet protector, and they're ready to use. And I know this video jumped all over the place. There was just so many little parts on these presents, but I hope you found it useful. They're super cute when they're finished, and I added mine to this little reindeer, and you can catch that video too. Be sure to hit the like and subscribe button so you'll see when that drops. Thanks for watching. Bye.